We are live. We are live. We are live.
Hello, hello, everybody. Welcome to the show.
I'm still finding my voice. I really would love to sing, but no, you do not want me to sing.
So, in my past life, because I've lived so many lifetimes in this lifetime, I worked a lot with children, babies, and, they cry. And the thing that would always get them to stop crying was when I would sing the ABC song.
Yeah.
I don't know what I'm like, I don't have a singing voice, but they would love that. And it had to be the ABC song. And if you know, Twinkle Twinkle is the exact same melody. But Twinkle Twinkle
Really?
doesn't make them stop crying. ABCs makes them stop
That's
crying.
funny. You know what? I think it's a modern chant, like I think chanting, this sound certification course that I took, your voice is just as much of an instrument as a gong or singing bowls or anything like that. And I think chanting is part of who and what we are, I went to my annual Seminole powwow this year. Again, I looked at some old pictures the other day. I think I've been going for like 5 years. I'm only upset that I didn't know about it sooner because I think this is the 51st year. But in
Oh,
any event,
wow.
when you walk in, when you're at the grand entry, right, where it's like all the pomp and circumstance, and they have drummers that sit in groups of, I want to say like 10 or 12, and it's a big giant beast of a drum, and they probably have 12 different groups, right, and then each one sings a different song. But when I tell you that drum beat just like reverberates your heart, like your heart literally rattles inside of your rib cage. It's incredible. And the voices, like when they're chanting and their singing is like screaming, like it is the most intense, beautiful. I mean, I tell you, I'm an easy crier anyway, but there I'm just immediately, as soon as they open their mouths, I start crying. And I feel so ridiculous because like I know, like I'm Hispanic, right? Like my parents were born in Cuba, my great grandparents and back are all from Spain, like I come from a long line of colonizers. I am so sorry. Like I feel so bad. Like I really, this is probably one of the things I have to dig into because my heart is like, I love the Native American cultures. What I'm wearing here is, Mayan, right? Like I love all of that. And this current lifetime, this is where I come from, is from Spaniards, and Spaniards don't have the nicest reputations. So as I'm sitting there connecting from my like internal ancestor soul plane, right? Like I'm having this out of body experience. I know that I look like, why is the Spanish girl having an attack? You know what I mean? Like I think I look pretty Hispanic. I don't know. But anyway, it's the voice is incredible, and being in those spaces, even it's just so sacred all the time. I don't know. That's been my experience of it.
I think, you say the sacredness, and you've probably heard me so many times that, I crave sacredness, and so often, different thing. I'm like, they didn't do it sacred enough. And like every moment can be sacred, and we
I
need
think
to
it's
bring.
intention, right?
Pardon?
Intention. It's intention and meaning.
Yeah, for sure. And as I was driving around in my car the other day, I was thinking about, our rituals and our ceremonies, and um, the modern rituals and ceremonies that we often partake in are done so with lack of intention, which makes them less sacred and less. I think the more sacred and intentional is, the more powerful it becomes. And so, I think this is part of our. We talk about remembering all the time, and remembering, you know, these rituals and ceremonies were so much a part of these cultures because of the power that they brought. And I think what we're experiencing is the craving to bring that back. right?
Yeah. Yeah, totally. You know, out of all the instruments that I have played with, the hand drum is really one that just resonates with me, and it's the one that I could just be with at all times. Like I have two drums, but I don't have a gong yet, right? And I love the gong. That's going to be my next one. But it's just interesting what you gravitate to, you know, and why,
Yeah.
you know.
Well, and the drum also represents, you know, our heartbeat, our life force, and yeah, cool stuff. Cool stuff.
Mhm.
Should we
Well,
bring
I'm
in our guest?
yeah, let's do it.
Dun dun dun. Welcome, welcome,
Hello.
Liz.
Hi, happy to be here. Thank you.
We
Thank
are
you.
so excited to have you. Can you take a second and, well, more than a second, obviously, but introduce yourself to our audience? Tell them about all the amazing things that you do and what keeps you passionate about that.
Sure. Hi, it's an honor to be here. I love to be a part of anything that has the word goddess in it. I'm Liz Haber Zambrano. I am in this moment, I'm a professional executive coach and a personal coach. So I really work with organizations and people on leadership styles and really leading. In here, I'll say leading from the feminine. Out there, I'll say holistic leadership, ecological leadership, but a leadership that is inclusive and connected to more than just the bottom line, that really takes into account everything and everyone, everything and everyone. And I also, in another life, I did personal development trainings and facilitated that. And I facilitated a workshop called The Sacred Feminine. And I know, Julieta, you've been a part of that. And just hearing you speak about sacred, we would say in that course that nothing is sacred unless you say it's sacred. Like like the two of you were saying, with our intentionality, we bring the sacredness. So nothing, our homes won't be sacred unless we say are sacred. Our bodies won't be sacred unless we say it's sacred. And coming at it with that type of intention, yes, absolutely enriches it and brings so much meaning to it. And it's something you don't necessarily need to go to specific places to experience. You can say something is sacred at any time. It's really powerful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I always in my house, I always tell my children that all books in my house are sacred. And I don't care if it's a cookbook or whatnot. You know, I grew up in a Baptist environment, you know, school, and we were taught that like you never put the Bible on the floor and you never put another book on top of the Bible, and you certainly don't step on it or anything like that. And so we treat all of our books like that. Like those things are sacred to me, right? They bring
Mm-hmm.
me joy in that way. And so,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and I think when you approach friendships as sacred, when you approach, you know, we had our group, we had a like a sisterhood circle, you know, it was cacao and new moon and everything. And one of the things that I said was, you know, we're sitting in this circle and it feels sacred to us, but could we not take this same feeling into the line at the deli? You know, when you're standing in Publix, you are standing in a really big circle, right? Like how you show up here should be the way that you're showing up everywhere, right?
Sure.
So how do you take your concepts and bring that into corporate world, which traditionally has such resistance to anything related to feelings, right?
Sure. I mean, really great question. I love to bring the feminine, especially in a practical way, because I feel as though like we're the witches in the woods, and then that conversation can leave out a lot of other people that want to really experience the feminine, but think about it as such a far out there concept that they couldn't relate to. So I really love to meet people. Really, I'm meeting the masculine principle where it's at, right? And the masculine principle lives in a lot more times I see the masculine in women or than I even do necessarily in men. So meeting it where it's at, speaking that language of accomplishment and getting stuff done, and building and creating and all of that. But at the end of the day, what I find with most people is we all have that ability we all want to be connected to something greater than ourselves. We all want to experience purpose, and we all care about, we care about something. And oftentimes I find that care is about people, like there's a relationship. So I can meet people at that level. So when I connect, especially in the area of values, what do you really value? What are the values of the company? Most of the time people don't know, or if they do, they're like dusty on a shelf and nobody's using them. So I bring it out there, and I always say, if you're not, you are living by values in your culture, and sometimes you're doing it intentional, most of the time you're not. So you have other values like seeping in, whether that's gossiping, politicking, running over everybody to be first, competition. Those are the types of values that are operating most of the time when we're not living valued centered. So I start there. Let's bring out the values that the corporation says that, or the organization stands for, really. And then personal values. What does each individual really stand for? And most of the times you can always find the common ground. And I start there at that human level, being a human being. And then with my own personal clients, same thing. Like, what's your value system? Where are we really operating? What matters to you most? And then how can we make choices from that place?
Yeah.
So
I love that you point out, I always hear the word values, and I always think of it in the positive, right? The good values. And you just made me realize that there are negative values, and it is a value system, right? Like you said, gossiping and politicking and things like that. And I think that's so powerful, because I think it's, those things are insidious. And if you don't identify them as values, you don't even realize that you're literally creating who you are, using this ineffective value system, right?
Yeah. And even in those ways, the gossiping and politicking, the real values underneath that are like being right. Like, we all want to be right. We want to look like we're number one, we're on top.
Yeah.
We want to win. Yeah. We want to look good. And we want to win at the expense of somebody else. So a lot of times we think about it that way too. And it's not necessarily, I guess, it's not conscious. It's just the water we might be swimming in. So really getting clear on like, what do I choose to value? And then how do I operationalize those in a way that I can make decisions from that place?
I think 2 years, what you just said, so many of us are just walking through life completely unintentional and unaware of just keep plugging through every day. And I think some of it is that we've created this culture where all we do is work, and plow forward. And if we just took a moment to breathe and connect with what matters to us, and then take the next step forward with intention, how much would shift in the world?
Oh my gosh, yeah. And that you're speaking to one of the ways that I meet people in the conversation of the feminine is in that area where we live in a culture that is very valued on what we produce and what we do. So our value is, how much did I get done in a day? How much did I accomplish? And when I have days, because I'm a cyclical being, really, and I have moods and I have periods when I am not really motivated or moved to get a bunch of stuff done, what's the first thing that I do? What's the first thing I ask? What's wrong with me?
Yeah.
What's wrong with me? I don't want to get up and do a bunch of stuff today. What's wrong with me? And all of a sudden I lose my own value. Where really, if we're in tune with the feminine, with the cycles, with even the seasons, we always want it to be summer. We always want to be producing. But if we even just look at the natural world, there's winter for a reason. That's
Absolutely.
rest. That's so even though it may not look like anything's happening, seeds are germinating under there. So I work with my clients to really embrace those winters, right? Like there's nothing wrong with you. Maybe what you're really being called for is to, like you just said, Julia, to like be still, be quiet, go within. And then we don't even know why yet, but later, after those periods when we really honor them, something's birthed. Some idea came, and we're like, oh, thank God I had that time. I understand what that was for now.
There's always answers in the silence,
Mm-hmm.
And as an entrepreneur, that can be unsettling, And the other day I was kind of just mentoring someone, and we were talking about slow season in the photography world. And I was saying, you really got to look at it like it's a planting season, right? What you do
Mm-hmm.
now affects what happens 3 months from now. And so, if you're experiencing a lull, go back 3 months and figure out what were you doing 3 months ago. Chances are you were doing, not being. So, change your planting season again, right? And invest in yourself like that.
Sure.
So you're so youthful because you're so gorgeous. If you guys are listening to us, hop on YouTube and go look at her face because she's so bright and sunny. I'm super jealous of your glow. Anyway, tell our audience a little bit about your story and how you got here, because a lot of what we try and remind people is that we didn't get here from one day to the next. This is an ever evolving process, and we're all growing and learning. And so what sort of limiting beliefs did you have that you had to let go of that maybe someone else might be struggling with, that you can tell them, hey, I used to be like this, and bam, look at me now. Like, you can do this too.
Oh man, it's really great you asked that question, because I used to be a mess, a hot mess, drinking too much, drugging too much, didn't care about anything, so much pressure on me. Like I was supposed to be something and I didn't want to be that. It was a lawyer and I didn't want to be that. And I'm a failure. Didn't know where my worth was, didn't know. It was a really, really dark time. And it was my early 20s. So had a really dark time. Just finished college, wasn't sure what I wanted to do with my life. And I turned to drugs and alcohol as a way to cope with this pressure, with the pressure. And a friend enrolled me in sort of like a transformational, like personal development program. And I was pretty open at that time because nothing was working. So I did this program and I got some tools. And then I also got some other tools, like some tools in the recovery world. And I gave it all up, the drinking, the using, all of that, and really discovered that I had value. Really, that's what I was on a mission to discover, that if it wasn't, did I have value outside of what I did, and I found my own worth. I found my own, on this journey of personal development, I found who I was on the inside, regardless of what I was doing. And almost like, I'm so grateful that happened when I was, because now today I've done lots of things, I've done lots of cool things. I can list, you look at my resume and it's like, wow, this person has done so many things, but really I can also do no things and still know that I am valuable. And so are you. It's not like a special thing. It's not like Liz is special and everybody else is out there sucks. No, it's like, I am special. I am enough. I am enough because I exist. And so are you. And so are they. And so that darkness that I really went through helped me. I like to say, those who've walked closest to the fire, or I heard this before, those who walk closest to the fire can shine the most light. So because I know what like real despair and suffering feels like, I have so much compassion and empathy for everybody. And at the same time, hope, because you may just be a few choices away from another way of being, and nothing in your outside world needs to change. It's like an inside job, so yeah, so I entered the world of personal development, realized I was good at it and I'm passionate about it and I loved it, and decided at this pivotal moment of like, what am I going to do with my life? With the support of my family and some people, some really important people, other women around me, decided to go for it. And I've been doing it for 12 years now. Yeah. Yeah.
Congratulations. What a
Thank
beautiful
you.
journey.
Thank you. Yeah. It was worth it to get here. Yeah. It was hard, but it was worth it. Yeah.
I love also that you're, tackling this from a corporate level, and yes, we can each do these things individually, but I feel like out there in the world, it is the corporations that are controlling what's outside there. And if we can create some kind of shift within the corporate world, how much easier will it be for everybody else to shift?
Yeah.
It seems like a huge,
Undertaking.
yes.
Yeah.
But
Well,
um,
yeah.
I don't know. If we can get the shift there, and I love that you bringing in the feminine energy there. On one of my trips to Egypt many years ago, after visiting Philae Temple, the goddess Isis came to me and said that it's up to women to save the world, because the world is stuck in such toxic masculinity that only the feminine energy can pull us out of that and create the shift and the change. And I'm not talking about, I'm not wanting to diss men or the masculine.
Right.
This is about energies, not about men or women. But as women, we have easier access to that sacred feminine. And so, if anybody's going to do it, we're going to do it. And from my viewpoint, I'm just always looking at it from person to person. But to hear you like looking at it from a corporate standpoint, I'm like, oh my God, I love this.
Yeah. And first I'll just say, here's Isis. I have her with me all the time. So I love
Yes.
that you just brought that up.
Beautiful.
And to your point, yes, like I say, the head of the feminine has been cut off for over 2,000 years. Okay. And it's reawakening, it's reemerging, the essence. And it's very important, like you just said, it's not a man or woman thing. We all have both energies, but we have been building a world without the feminine energy present. And what happens is what you see happening, climate change, the world, the earth is suffering, people are suffering. We're building and building and building without considering what it's doing at the whole level, at the level of nature and at the level of people too. And when we bring that feminine energy in, we start looking at those questions. We start answering those questions. It's possible to feed every single person right now. There doesn't need to be poverty. There doesn't need to be hunger. It's just a choice that we've been making, a context we've been living out of. And the more that this energy wakes up, and it's not in competition to the masculine, it's in balance. Because I also say without the masculine energy, nothing would ever get done, because the feminine, it's circular. It sees it's circular. So you need that energy. But without the balance, like I said, you get poison. You get poison, you get toxicity. Same thing the other way. It needs both. And the beautiful thing is this conversation, if you look, is actually being held in a lot of places. So Brene Brown, if you ever read Dare to Lead, it's a book about leadership. And she even has a whole curriculum that she brings into corporations. And I read that book and I thought, oh my good, there's feminine leadership. Like, she's not calling it that, and she's doing it so brilliantly. She has data and facts and studies, which is, what the masculine needs for buy-in. So she's speaking the masculine language, but she's training in feminine leadership, without using these words. So she's brilliant at this. I don't even know if she knows that's what she's doing. But
Possibly
that's what
not.
she's doing. but that's happening. So yes, I'm doing this, but so are thousands and thousands of other people. Like the energy is here, and it's wanted, even especially post-COVID, as we've had that moment of pause. And we looked around and we're like, there's got to be more to this than just this 9 to 5 grind. There's got to be more.
At the end of the day, all of these corporations, it's still a person. There's still a human being at the end of that. And really, for me, each of those people, we're all just grown-up children. Do you know what I mean? Like, we're all just beings that want to be loved and we want to be held. And, somewhere along the line that got screwed up, and we developed some bad habits because of that, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, but I don't know if you've ever seen, Liz, the Compassion Prison Project. If you've ever seen that, just YouTube it. It's like the first thing that comes up is usually like a 6-minute video, but in short, it has all these incarcerated men, and they put them all in a big giant circle, and then they start going through a list of questions, and they're like, take a step in if you've ever felt food insecure. They take a step in. Take a step in if your parents weren't there for you. They take a step in. Take a step in and then they just go through all of these things that at the end of the day come down to security and love. Maslow's hierarchy, level 1, right? And you start realizing that our prisons are not filled with terrible people. Our prisons are filled with hurt people, with people that have not had the opportunity to heal. And so they, took a path that honestly any single one of us could have taken, it's a matter of a decision in one way or another, which way your life goes.
Sure.
So I think even as we talk about, evil corporations, like that comes across a lot, right? Like, oh, that corporation is terrible and it's, so terrible. Yes. And at the underneath all of that, there's some person who's hurt, who feels the necessity to be the way that they are, right? And to create this culture. I mean, entire countries have been fooled by a hurt person, so I think it's really, I appreciate the work that you're doing, and I agree with you that it's the time, it's time for all of us to be doing it together. And if that feels overwhelming, I mean, I would say work on yourself.
And I'd say you're not the only one, and honestly, the world doesn't need, like, everybody has within them this possibility. Like, we don't need to be saved. Maybe we just need, like you're saying, a hug, or to be understood, or to be listened to.
That's it.
And people ask me sometimes, like, oh, what's it like to coach executives? I'm like, what's it like? No different than any other human being that I've worked with. They're just human beings with the same problems and the same insecurities and the same questions. Like, am I enough? Is what I'm doing enough? Do I matter? Am I lovable? Like, at the end of the day, that's what it all comes down to, honestly. Yeah.
I think the three of us see that a lot in each of our work. I know for me, as a branding and boudoir photographer on both sides, everybody walks in with the same exact feelings, everybody presents differently, but at the end of the day, it's the same feelings. And I know, Julietta, you get a lot of that on your table too.
Yeah.
All day telling people you are enough just exactly as you are, and you don't need to do anything differently to be more valuable, more worthy, more deserving.
Right. And I think it's important to, I also say, like, I don't have this figured out. They hear, oh, professional coach or life coach, like this person is perfect or something. No, I have days where I forget that I'm enough. I forget that I have days that are just like, I suck. Everybody hates me. Let me crawl and die. And it's really like, okay, I've learned to ask myself, what do I need? in those moments? Like, what do I need? And that one question is so, to be able to answer it. Because for a long time, I could ask it, what do I need? And I would say, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. But to be able to answer that today, like really listen, what do I need? And answer that has been a profound shift in my life. And I offer that.
And to know that whatever the answer is the right answer, and it's an okay answer, and it's okay to be 40 and want to call your girlfriend and cry for 3 minutes while you're driving to pick up your kid from school, because that's the only time that you get, you know.
100%. Yeah.
Right? I laugh with Julietta because, you know, we're like, we have all these practices that are, you know, 15, 20, 30, 40-minute meditations, whatever. And then I sat down one day and I had one of my cacao channeling moments, and I channeled like the, you know, the 1 minute mantra, you know, the one that you can do, like, you know, when you're at a red light, because that's all you have, you know?
Yeah.
And that's
Yeah.
okay too, you know?
Yes. Yeah, so sometimes the answer to that question, what do I need, is like, I need to do yoga. I need to meditate. I need a journal. I need to pray. And sometimes the answer is, I need Cheetos and trashy television. You know, like that's what I need right now.
And I hope our editors pull that out and make it short.
I need to play Call of Duty right now. I need to, you know, like whatever that is. Yeah.
It's true. It's true.
Oh, that's so good.
I want to ask you my absolute favorite question. You already mentioned Brene Brown, but I don't know if you had another book queued up. I am building a library, virtual and one day real. What book do you think everyone should read?
Ooh, okay. Every Goddess. I'm going to say Every Goddess right now. Well, everyone should read the Dare to Lead book by Brene Brown. Every Goddess should read Pussy of Reclamation by Regina Thomas Hour.
Yeah.
And next to that, Goddesses Never Age by Christiane Northrup. Yeah. She actually gives the intro to Pussy for Regina. Yeah. That book changed my life.
We used to have a book club inside the Circle of Goddesses, and we've if we weren't so busy, we would bring it back. But I wanted that to be one of our books one time, and I got shot down on that because, unfortunately, like the title, I understand that the title is offensive to some
Provocative.
people.
Yes.
But part of it is, like, we as women need to take the power back of that word, and one of the ways you can do that is by reading the book. And
that's her whole thing. Yeah, sometimes I send it to my girlfriends and they're like, what did you send me? And then other times I tell my clients, you might want to read this book. They're like, okay, but I share an Audible account with my family. Let me figure out how to get around that. I'm like, whatever you got to do, lean into it. It's incredible. It's an incredible book about taking your power back.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. I love it.
I think I need like a 2-year sabbatical. I'm just going to go into a cave so I can read all of these books. I'm constantly reading like 6 books at a time. I need more time. I need more time.
Time's not real. It's all made up. So just make more time.
There you go. I love it.
Oh my God. This has been a fantastic episode. And I guarantee you, like, we could keep talking for hours and have great stuff to say. But it is time for us to wrap this up. And anybody who wants to know more and get in contact with Liz, check out the show notes. Her information is there. And Graciela and I's information are there as well if you need to reach out to either of us. And thank you again, Liz, for joining us. And I want to wish everybody out there in listener land to have a magical day.
Thank you. Honor to be here. Thank you. Thanks for doing this.